something that a lot of people don't realize about these really old cars is that the brakes are actually ran by a cable. So you don't have any brake fluid or anything like that. Problem with that is they're not as strong, obviously, and they're not as reliable because the cables can get stretched, the cables can break. So one thing that a lot of people do is they convert these. You can buy a lot of the parts on speedwaymotors.com. They convert them to juice brakes. For this one, I'm actually going to switch out the front cross member to a newer style one and then run disc brakes, just because I'm going to have a lot of weight in this thing, so I want to make sure it's going to stop good. You can run drum brakes, but disc brakes are pretty cheap nowadays. You might as well run those. Another cool thing about the Chevy versus the Ford, this actually has like a kind of like a hydraulic shock on it. If you look real close down in here, you can see the shock mounts to the axle here, and when the axle goes up, it works against this little spring. I don't even know what this is called, but it's like a little pump. It works against this, so this actually eats up some of the movement in the suspension here. I thought this was pretty cool. I've never seen anything like this, and I know that a lot of newer cars don't have this. I'm probably going to just switch to a normal shock just because it's a little bit easier to adjust the stuff with air ride, plus I don't know anything about these. And then, like I said, here's the parallel leaf springs. The steering comes down from across the other side. It's just hooked to the other side where there's a steering rod that hooks to that tire, and then a rod that hooks from that tire to this tire. So as the one over there turns, this side turns also. It's pretty simple, but you want to make sure that everything you do is strong enough for what you're going to build it for, because none of this stuff was built to have 300 horsepower V8s or 1,000 foot-pound Cummins, wink wink, or anything like that in it. Now that I got the fenders and all the running boards and all that stuff off, I'm going to start tearing out the motor. For the motor and other bolts on rusty cars, this is going to be one of your best friends. This is just a cheap propane tank. You can buy them at Menards. They're like 18 bucks with the nozzle. Basically all you do with this is you take your WD-40, you spray your bolts, then you take this, start it up, get it going so it's pretty warm, and all you got to do is heat up the bolts. So basically when you heat up the bolt, the threads are going to expand, and then the threads are actually going to break the rust loose, because when they expand and contract within each other, the threads become cleaner because the rust sort of breaks loose and you can free up the bolt. This is really essential in anything old, anything rusty. It's really essential to have one of these. It saves you a lot of time, saves you a lot of energy. It's a good little $15, $18 investment. Day 1, September 29th, 7.5 hours after beginning project. Pretty good first night's worth of work here. I got all the fenders off, got the inner panels in the engine compartment off, got the brakes all unhooked, got to take out some of these cross members to actually get all the linkage for the brakes out, but all this cross member stuff is what's holding the body up, so I'll have to actually go in and reinforce the body first. I started doing a little bit here for reinforcing before I take the body off the frame. Got most of the stuff unhooked under here. Got the rear bumper off. Started to take this little panel off. Coming along. Another day, another dollar. So now that I got the doors off, a really common thing that you're going to see with pretty much all these Model A's and old Chevys, since they're made out of wood, everything kind of flexes. So once the doors are off, a lot of the times all this wood in these rockers is going to be all rotten. So the cab actually flexes, so the cab will move back and forth, and it'll create misfitment in all these gaps. So what you want to do is you want to look at, if you have the rocker panels and they're nice, you want to try and get these fit up accurately. So if you look right here, you just have be able to fit a fingernail in between on each end. And you see how this edge has a bigger gap? You're going to want to actually take a ratchet strap or something to pull the body together. And when you pull these bolts together, it'll actually tighten this side up and square everything back up to how it used to be. So if you take a look at this side, this rocker is still in place. The wood isn't quite as rotten on this side, so it hasn't moved yet. So if you look at this rocker, see it's all original. This is nice because this gives me kind of something to look at. So as far as the width right there, you see how this outside of this is almost lined up with the outside of this. But you see this post over here is completely loose. So that'll give me a good reference point as to where I need to build this back to get it to all fit together right again. So once you have this lined up right in here, about right to where you need it, you're going to want to take some pipe and you're going to want to weld pipes in between here and here. That'll keep the door opening from moving again, and also from here to here. And then another thing to make sure when you're doing this, you also want to make sure that the width this way is correct. So like I said earlier, you want to match up the outside of the rocker panel over there the same way on this side. So you can start by mounting this and then working with this. See, I'm going to have to ratchet strap this, kind of do the same deal, get it to the correct width, and go based off there, and then get all the ratchets strapped together, and then tack it all up with some pipe, something to keep it together, keep it strong, and then you continue from there. So now that I got all these braces kind of tacked up in here on this side, as you can see, I got the one in between the fender there and the doorpost, the one that holds it the length way, or the width-wise, going all the way to the other post. And then I got one that kind of joins all three together in a diagonal. When you do this, you want to make sure you're just tacking it, and you're just tacking somewhere where you can easily get to it with the grinder. So I kind of put in these spots right here. Just little tacks, you don't really need much, it's just to hold it together for now. If you were to tack, say, on the inside of that little channel, that would be kind of a pain in the ass to grind, right? So you don't want to do that. Just make sure you do it. Think about it. Put it somewhere where it's going to be easy to grind, easy to cut off, because you're going to be cutting it all off as soon as you get all the actual bracing in anyways. So I'll continue with this, keep adding bracing, keep getting everything where I need it, as far as all the measurements matching up to the other side and everything being square. And then I will take some actual square tubing and probably go across from here to the other side, or however I'm going to do it. I haven't decided yet because I might have to do a body drop. So that's the process of doing this. It just kind of keep reinforcing, and then you just got to think your way through it, logic through it, and you'll figure it out. Day 2, 8 hours later. Got the doors off the car here. Got all the hinges and all the safety latches off. Then I started to reinforce everything. Because I have to take the body off the frame, I wanted to reinforce everything before I do so. And then I have this set up so that I can actually chop it and leave all these reinforcements in. And when you shake the whole car, since it's loose on the frame right now, the whole thing shakes evenly. So when it's loose on the frame, you want to check to see if everything shakes the same amount. So say if you shake this side right here really hard and the other side doesn't shake the same amount, that means that there's somewhere in between that it's loose. So you want everything to shake the same amount on the frame, and that'll tell you that everything is supported the way it should be when you want to lift it off the frame.